Hi there, my name is Rupert Taylor and welcome to this special edition of Bar Chat. The reason this is a special edition is because we are at a special time with the coronavirus hitting us in a way like I can't remember ever before, and I've been working for 35 years. It's an extraordinary thing really, because this time last week I was concerned for our own employees and about how we may operate within the context of the coronavirus getting worse. But I suppose I didn't really believe it was going to happen in that way. And yet here we are just a few days later. And the level of sort of chaos and confusion that is entering my head, let alone others around me, around how we're going to operate in an environment like we could be about to go into over the next few months. And of course, that's the other thing, is we don't know how long this is going to go on for. It may be very short term, but it could be much longer term. It could be months. And so when you start thinking about the need to lock down your business, whether it's a global business or a local business, and have your resources working from home, and all of a sudden you're thinking, how are our core processes going to hold up? And if we're running a PMO, how are we going to operate that PMO? Are our operational processes, the way that we distribute information, the way that we manage information, the way that we collate information and format it to present it, how's all that going to work in an environment where we have PMO members of the team working from their own homes in different places, and project team members who've got to update on the portfolio working in different places all over the world with no real connectivity via your normal traditional hub, which is the office or the offices you work from. So it's a very volatile, uncomfortable period. And I thought, I think it would be useful to just have a conversation about where we go with this, and from the perspective of a PMO. And I've looked at it myself for our own business, and we really feel this was sort of unpredicted, and it certainly wasn't designed in this way, but it's sort of by chance. We feel that Perform, which is our portfolio management platform, is an incredibly good solution for supporting companies and PMOs that are having to try and mitigate that situation where everything's suddenly changing and they're going to have to work remotely and in a disparate way over at least a period of time. It may only be a short-term solution, but I'm absolutely convinced that it's a very strong solution. Why? Why do I think it's so strong? I think partly because there's a few things that are essential in a situation like this. If this becomes a crisis, Perform or something like Perform, something similar, whatever it is that you choose to use, needs to be, we need to be able to launch it and get it mobile and actually generating value within days. It certainly can't take months. There's no point having a system that takes 2 months to train people and get configured and set up. And we can get Perform configured and set up in literally hours stroke days. So we can get a portfolio on there that can be managed remotely from lots of different people within the PMO or the portfolio office or the project management community, working in different places, different locations, working from home, in isolation, etc. We can do that. We can get it up and running very quickly. It's also very intuitive and simple. So we can, people that have never used Perform before can engage with it very simply and get the data in a format that's prompted completely by the way that Perform is structured. And then accessing the data for your executives, your sponsors, your leaders of the portfolio is very simple as well, because it goes onto any device and they can access it anywhere, whether it's at home or in the train or wherever they may be in the world, they can access the data. And of course, not only is it going to be just as important for the PMO to keep running the portfolio like you normally run the portfolio, but you've got this additional complexity of the impact that the coronavirus is going to have on your portfolio. So key resources that are required and how that operates. And that needs to be reported on, and decisions, good decisions, governance decisions need to be taken around those moments where you have to prioritize, you have to change things in order to support the impact of the coronavirus. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a quick look at what I mean. And this is not by any means a full demo. I just want to give you an overview as to why I think Perform can be really useful in mitigating the coronavirus impact of remote working, not being, self-isolation and having to operate sort of separate from the mothership. So at its sort of most straightforward level, we will load up, you'll get your projects and programs loaded up within hours. We can get them loaded up with you. We can get them loaded up. All your portfolio can be loaded up within a day, couple of days, whatever it might take. It will not take long, no matter how big the portfolio is. Second thing really for us is that getting the information in needs to be very simple. So if we go to, for instance, a monthly report, and this is all they will have to do is input their weekly or their monthly report or both, and the rest happens automatically. All your PowerPoint packs, all your slide packs, your governance meeting packs, your board packs, everything happens automatically in very concise visual, as you'll see, visual snippets. So here you will get a chain for the monthly report of elements to fill in. So what have you achieved this month? And that then goes into here, what's planned for next month, and any key escalations. This should take, what are the steering group decisions that we need to put in for this month's steering group or for the steerco, and as long as the inputter goes through the chain of links, they'll be able to complete their report in 20 minutes, and that is it, done. The rest of it can be managed by the PMO remotely. So getting the data in is very simple. And then in terms of viewing the data, there's probably 2 or 3 areas that really matter in this situation. The first one is the portfolio overview. So how is the portfolio performing? You've got to keep that going. And no time is going to be as important as the next few months with the coronavirus impact than to give a picture of how the portfolio is performing and being impacted. So, for instance, you could create in the risk registers, get them off your spreadsheets all over the place in different repositories, get them into a central repository so you've got control of all of them in a central repository and you can help manage them in a central repository. And when you look at all of your risks, for instance, some of which may well be to do with coronavirus and coronavirus impacts, check you've got mitigations, and where you haven't got mitigations, obviously that's where you need to have a conversation. And if you want to then filter, because you have lots and lots of projects, look at your biggest risks, because that's obviously where you need to spend most of your time, and look for the ones that don't have mitigations. Focus on that. So yeah, keep that portfolio overview going. Where are we in relation to the life cycle on agile programs or projects, as well as waterfall projects? Look at your risks, look at your issues, etc. And all of this can be managed remotely. Equally, when you come to your regular, you can set up through the PMO remotely. You don't need any interference from the office or head office or whatever. Set up your governance structures, your governance meetings. So here is the CIO's monthly review. I go into that. There are 8 projects that we've got in this that the CIO is currently tracking, which is great. So here are my 8 projects. If I want to then go through, use the projector view, because that gets you off all the slides. You don't have to create those slide packs. And here I've got an automated view of to support the agenda for the CIO's review. So a bit of an overview of the RAG status, the financial performance, where we are, what's been happening, the critical path, which I can see very clearly here, the key risks and issues, so that I can go through those. And then in this case, we've got the resource profile. But then you move on to the next. So the first program on the agenda is the Apollo program. The next one is Craven H2 renewal. The next one is engineering services program. So it's all automated. You really can drive it using screen share, using Teams, using a video conferencing unit. You can drive that governance structure very, very effectively. So that's that. The other thing I would be looking to do is make sure you give visibility to the portfolio roadmap. So what are the impacts of the roadmap of, whether it's coronavirus or other, just standard delivery impacts, but what are the impacts on the portfolio across the board? So it's rendered in one place. Again, it all happens automatically. There's nothing that needs to be done apart from fill in the monthly and the weekly report. So look, that's a very, very simple overview, but I really do believe that Perform can help mitigate some of the operational challenges that you have when you're running a PMO in a situation like the coronavirus represents or presents us with, which is suddenly everyone having to work remotely, potentially. And yet the portfolio still needs to deliver. And in fact, the information you need to give to the executives is more important now than ever, because it's going to be changeable. It's, different things are going to happen relating to the spread of coronavirus that are going to impact the portfolio. What we've done is I've said to that I want to offer to companies that if this can help mitigate coronavirus impacts, a very flexible sort of commercial agreement, so that it may only last for 3 months. But if this helps for 3 months, then so much the better. It may last for 6 months, so it can then be extended for 6 months. You don't need to take on a 3-month contract. It's very low cost. It's very high impact. It's very quick to roll out. And I really think it can help this situation with the coronavirus. Look, I hope you're all managing to see a little bit of the wood through the trees when it comes to thinking through how you're going to cope with coronavirus if it hits us as hard as it potentially could. If we can help you, we'd love to. Do get hold of us, give us a call, have a demonstration of the system. You're more than welcome to, and we'll do it in the context of a coronavirus type situation. But all the very best of luck with it, and I'll see you for the next bar chat. Thank you for coming to the bar chat today. It's been great to have you in the bar, and I hope you've enjoyed the topic we've been talking about. Now, if there's anything in this topic, if there's anything in this bar chat that's particularly resonated with you, or there's a challenge that you're facing with your portfolio or your program or your stakeholders or whatever it might be, then one of the things that I'm offering is a free private bar function. So you can either come into our very own bar and come and be a part of it, and I promise you there'll be a drink waiting here for you, or I'll come to you, or we'll have a phone call, and we can maybe kick the tires on over a bar chat on a challenge that you're facing internally with your program, portfolio, or whatever. If you want to do that, please take me up on the offer. I don't expect anything in return, and I really genuinely don't. You're very welcome to just click the link in the post on LinkedIn. There's a link in there. Connect and register, and we will be in touch to sort a private bar function out. Come and see me in the bar.